but I mean, I don't advise it. So we won't be walking through dense woods. We'll be on paths the whole time. If you want to step off into the woods, feel free. What I'm going to do is we're going to go through like 5 or 6 communities. That's the reason we're picking this trail versus something closer to school. Much of the west side, like around NAS where that park is, has already been changed because of military operations, grazing, fires, whatever. This is about as natural as you can get in town. Let me show you where we're going to go. If you get this blueberry trail here,
it's got a 32 gigabyte card.
Cross a little creek.
About 5 hours of video.
And back
HD.
up. Actually, we're going to go over here now. Notice the difference between that. Just visually, you can see that there is obviously a difference.
A lot thicker.
Yeah. Which one do you think is higher, the lighter color or the darker green?
Darker.
Yeah. More. So, but this is drier and thinner vegetation, drier and thinner, and then this is a low area right here. That's one of the reasons we're doing this as opposed to this, which is more uniform.
So the darker colors, it's a lower ground level, or the water.
More water, more growth, more green. Yeah. And these are old dune ridges, so they're old sand dunes, so they're very sterile and very, very desert-like. We'll talk about that too. So our first stop will be up here by the lake. When we come back all the way around the loop, a lot of people like to go on this bridge right here because anybody been on that bridge? You look down and you see big turtles and fish and sometimes alligators. They feed a lot of fish right there. This is a spring-fed lake, so it's a little unusual for Florida. Well, actually, they drilled a well, and it's artesian fill, which is I won't always have a pulp of the street from. Okay, ready? We're going to talk about our first community now. When you get home and you're putting this together as a report, there are going to be bits and pieces missing. I wanted to first tell you that if you're missing a piece of, let's say I didn't give you enough indicator species, for example, for a community, just go online and type in Florida Lake or Florida Pond or whatever, and stuff will come up. It'll usually be university sites, like University of West Florida has a great site. I do want you to write down something else. If you wanted the official names for everything in Florida, the official plants that are associated with the community, it's online. It's called the Florida Natural Areas Inventory.
Say that one more time, please.
FNAI, Florida Natural Areas Inventory. Florida Natural Areas Inventory, and it was done through the University of Florida. Go Gators! I'm not really a big football fan, but I did go to school there. It basically, the state paid for the academicians to basically categorize all of the communities in Florida and basically describe them all, which ones are about to be gone, which ones are most sensitive, why, okay? So the first community here is a lake. Let me give you a definition, because if you ask 50 people what a lake is, you'll get 50 definitions. It's a permanent, still body of water contained in a basin. A permanent, still, as in not flowing, body of water contained in a basin. So they're trying to separate it from a river. Permanent, underline that, because that doesn't mean it's not going to dry up. If it dries up in the winter or summer, it's not a lake. Well, those are prairies. We'll talk about them later. So it's got to be permanent, and the water has to be still. Now, where's the source of water for lakes? Just throw
rain,
rivers. Runoff from rain.
Rivers.
Might be a stream coming in and a stream going out, like you have a lot of up north.
Might be a spring.
Actually,
a spring.
Might be a spring.
Sinkhole.
Might be just runoff, or it may be groundwater that goes into the ground. It may be water that goes into the ground and hits a layer and follows that to the lake, like Keystone Heights, Melrose area. A lot of those. The soil here I won't talk too much about, except, of course, the older the lake gets, the more it will fill in. When we say a lake ages, that means all lakes are filling in because all this stuff is going to die and go to the bottom. The faster it ages, the less healthy it is. So the more nutrients that are going into the lake, the faster it ages. For example, when Lake Erie was in its decline, it's better now, it was going to be filled in 5,000 years. That's a huge lake because there was just so much nutrient going in, so much growth. Okay? Of course, the shore is more sandy because it gets wave washed, and the middle of the lake is more muddy and organic because it's still and deep. I don't know if I'm going to make it through this today. So, yell out some species of plants and animals that you associate with this lake right here.
Turtles. Fish.
Cattails.
Lily pads.
Lily pads, and those are called water bonnets. They're not water lilies. There are some water lilies over by the bridge. These are called water bonnets, and they have a big yellow, knobby-looking flower. And you keep looking. There's one.
There's one right there.
There's a good one right there. There's one over there. They're very common. Water bonnet. Some more animals. Largemouth bass.
Frogs.
Yep. Bullfrogs.
Moccasins.
Alligators. Water moccasins. So these indicator species are species that you associate with a particular community. They're sometimes called index species. I think the two terms are almost used interchangeably. I don't care which one you use, but if you think of a certain type of animal that lives in like cypress trees living in a swamp, for example, that's an indicator species. An alligator in a swamp would be if it's something that lives everywhere, like that red maple above your head there, it lives in just about every community we've got. So we wouldn't use that as an indicator species so much. What maintains this source of water? That's one thing. You can look up some other things that maintain lakes, and you've got to continue to have a basin. If the basin fills up or the water flow stops, your lake stops. Oh, by the way, a pond, these are not official at all. There's very little scientific about pond versus lake, but generally less than 10 acres is a pond. I don't know how big this is, but it's probably a pond, isn't it? Got any farmers in here? No acreage?
It's like 6 acres.
Yeah,
I don't think this is 10 acres.
No.
Do
I don't
you?
think it's 10 either.
I don't know how much further it goes on past
So-
that.
It might very well be 10 acres.
It might be though, because is that
I've
like
got
a island
2
here
acres
where that little
back
bridge
home.
is?
Okay, there's quite a bit behind that
There's
island.
more behind there. Might be a lake.
Yeah.
It's on
Yeah.
the verge.
On the cusp.
Yeah.
A pondish lake.
Now I'd like you to go up the boardwalk and take your first DRIC, hydric hammock. Means wet. Now let me give you the other two terms. We're not going to see them today, but hydric hammock. Hammock means a place of hardwoods.
Huh.
So most of these trees will lose their leaves. They're hardwoods as opposed to pines and softwoods. And there are 3 different types of hammock. There's the wet, there's the dry, which is xeric, X-E-R-I-C. X-E-R-I-C, xeric hammock is the dry, very dry hardwood area. It's usually higher. And then there's a middle, halfway in between is called mesic. Meso means middle, so mesic hammock would be somewhere in between the wet and the dry. What makes this a wet? Because half the year it's underwater, as much as a foot of water in here. If it were flowing water, you could probably call it a swamp or a floodplain type forest, but this generally wouldn't be flowing. So very low, lots of hardwoods, lots of shade, not too much ground cover because of what?
Light can't get down.
Not enough light. So
Then it keeps dying from all the leaves that fall.
there's plenty of nutrition, nourishment in the soil because all this stuff constantly falling down and decaying. But either it's too much water for a lot of plants to grow, but you hit it on the head. Not enough light. So indicator species,
What would you think would be in here? Well, this
Squirrels.
is our primo, and that's the cypress right here, this big tall one. Cypress, either bald or pond cypress. That's a pond cypress there.
Is it?
And everybody know what a cypress knee is? See those things sticking out of the ground out there that look like little pokers?
Yeah.
Those are cypress knees. They tend to anchor the cypress plants. And if you walk through there, you see 50 of them right in that open area. Magnolia is an indicator species.
What kind? What
Magnolia.
cypress was this again, sir?
That's a pond cypress,
Pond.
P-O-N-D.
Okay. Pond. Magnolia.
What's this
Are you
soil?
talking about the hole in the base? Is it cypress knee?
He's not going to.
No, see those little
Oh wait.
knees sticking up?
There's like roots that grow up like yews, right?
Well-nourished is what he said.
Anybody see a cypress knee over here?
Yeah.
Yeah, there's one back in the woods.
There's another one right over
Pointy
here.
looking.
He said nourished.
They're like roots that grow up like yews.
It's a root that comes above the ground, right?
Well-nourished.
Would the ferns be an indicator?
Yes, ferns,
Ferns.
beech trees,
Trees.
cypress, magnolia,
Got magnolia.
ash trees, A-S-H,
Beech tree?
What are they?
beech, B-E-E-C-H.
Where's an ash tree?
I'll have to point out one on our way through.
I don't know what that was.
They're smaller. I don't see one right here.
Okay.
Bay,
Water oaks be out here?
It's just well-nourished.
a little bit.
Because of
Okay, what about animals? Not as many indicator animals. I'll let you look that up.
frogs.
Squirrels.
I'm kidding.
There are very few things that are just particular in terms of animals
I would
to
say
a
about
hydrocamic.
Bugs.
I'm just going to.
I'm drawing a blank right now.
Spiders.
Probably armadillos, but I just look up hydrocamic indicator species and it'll give you some. And when you look those up, put Florida in so you don't, get stuff from middle Atlantic states. Soil very rich because of all the decaying.
Dark because of all the things.
A lot of organic matter, right?
Could have brought some throat lozenges.
Yeah. Really.
Probably have some in
See
the
what
car.
I missed.
I have some in my car.
Oh, it's also very acidic soil. Because of the decay, it's very acid soil. Y'all get that? Very acidic soil. Our blackwater rivers are rivers that have black water but yet clear. Looks like tea.
St. John's.
Many times it's the water running out of these hammocks that go to the rivers that is already darkened with tannic acid. So when you go to the Swanee River or the St. Mary's or the Santa Fe and you see that they're quote-unquote black water, it's the tannic acid which comes from the decay of all this stuff that it basically darkens the water. There's nothing impure about it. Matter of fact, it's very good for you. So if you go to Okefenokee Swamp and the water looks black, if you take a cup of it, hold it up to the light, it looks like iced tea.
Yeah.
And it has nothing to do with clean, dirty. It's just it's organic acids, primarily tannic acid.
Very good for you, right?
So what area? So we're going from a hydrocamic to a pine flatwoods.
Pine flatwoods.
But I'll tell you about pine flatwoods in a minute. But for the next quarter mile or so, it's in between. You're getting some of each. I do want to give you a term though. When two or more communities overlap, come together, blend, that blending area is called
What
an
is he got there that he's eating?
That blending area is called an ecotone.
Ecotone.
Eco, E-C-O-T-O-N-E. It just means where two or more communities overlap. Now, hunters and fishermen know that you're going to probably do better at the edge of a field, fishing at the edge of a lake, along a stream side, hunting between, say, a field and a forest because it's a richer, there are more kinds of things there, there are higher numbers of things. So they're usually very, very productive areas. So this is a blend between lake, hydrocamic, and we're going to come out on a very flat, more open forest called a pine flatwoods, and I'll stop there. Any questions?